What is going on, everybody? It's your boy Aaron B, and welcome back to Tacos and Touchdown Live Cowboy Post Draft Show. And I have a special guest for y'all. Bluff City Cowboys, my guy Marcus. How's it going, Marcus?
Man, I'm good, man. I'm good. How you doing?
I'm doing good. And especially after this draft, I'm pretty happy about it. There's a couple of my question about, but overall, it's been a good draft.
Yeah.
But before we get into that, how did the Bluff City Cowboy come about, anyways?
Okay. So, my background is in video and photography, and during COVID, of course, all that shut down. I started working from home, and I got my little room right here, and my work desk is literally right here on the other side. And every day, I would just look at this corner, and I would look at like that would be a nice background for a podcast. And then I would look at all my camera equipment just sitting right here in the corner. And I was like, I'm not doing anything with it. Why don't I just get in front of the camera and talk Cowboys? I have nothing else to do. So I started with the draft that April of 2020. And then from there, I just kind of kept going. So I've always been a football nerd. I've always been a football nerd. So I've always looked at stats and watched all 22 and read the collective bargaining agreement. I'm that type of nerd. So doing this stuff is just basically telling people the stuff that I look at all the time anyway.
You got the magazines and stuff as well?
I don't really do the magazines. I'm really I just like football. So I would call myself more of a football fan that loves the Cowboys than a Cowboys fan.
I get what you're saying. So you enjoy the game, but you enjoy the Cowboys and just enjoying like all the stats and everything.
Exactly. The Cowboys are my favorite team, but I just love football in general.
Yeah. And then before we get into the draft, I noticed that you're a big barbecue aficionado. You're from Memphis. I know y'all known for the pork ribs, the pork shoulders. So what's the best place to get some good barbecue in Memphis?
To be honest, I wouldn't go to a restaurant in Memphis for barbecue. You gotta go. You gotta find somebody who has a pit. You gotta go to somebody's backyard. You gotta see a guy who's pulling a trailer with a 25-foot smoker on it. That's where you're gonna get the great barbecue from. But if you do come to Memphis and you want to try out a restaurant, I would probably say a restaurant named Cozy Corner. Or if you want to go a little bit more mainstream commercial, we have a place called the Barbecue Shop that's won a lot of awards. And then there's a place called Rendezvous downtown. So those would be kind of my top 3 commercial places. But if you want real Memphis barbecue, you just got to find somebody on the street and say, hey, let me come to your backyard for a cookout.
Yeah, that's usually the best barbecue. Even in Texas, that's some of the best barbecue. My guy Damari said, I want that barbecue from the hood.
Exactly.
Hey, that'd be the best.
A couple bullets, but you're going to get a good plate out of it.
Hey, it may be worth it if it's good like that.
Oh, yeah, it definitely is.
Sure, but I want to get into but I want to get into our first pick. I know everybody mock draft is always about getting wide receiver. But I feel like the last week before the draft, I was kind of leaning towards offensive lineman and hearing all the rumors and everything about Tyler Booker might be that guy. And then I started looking at the film. I'm like, okay, that makes sense. We just Zach Martin just recently retired, and we always added emphasis having a really great line. So I wanted to get you. What's your opinion on Tyler Booker being a Dallas Cowboy?
So when I heard all the rumors about offensive lineman in the first, I assumed that would be in a trade back scenario where Genty, Ted, whoever they liked wasn't there at 12. They go back a couple spots, and then they get an offensive lineman that's best available. I did not expect to see them take an offensive lineman at 12. Now, personally, I like Booker. Booker, to me, is the best pure guard in this draft, and Booker's probably going to be a 10-year starter. So there's no problems with the player. My only issue was where we picked him at. When you picking 12, you're expecting to come out with a cornerstone type guy. So you're looking for somebody who you look at them in college and you just see multiple all pros in his future. Or you're looking at a guy who plays an impact position, wide receiver, defensive end, cornerback, quarterback, that's going to be one of your cornerstone players on either side of the ball. So again, like the player, good pick. When I think of picking a guard at 12, I think of Quentin Nelson. I think of Zach Martin. I think of Zion Johnson from the Chargers, a guy who played tackle in college. You can see the greatness on him that if he slid inside, he's going to be one of those ones. I didn't see that from Booker. He's a good, solid guard, and there's no problem with that. But at 12, I would want something a little bit more dynamic, and he could prove us wrong.
Yeah, that's the thing. I hope that he proves us wrong as a fan base. Because I was feeling like maybe we could get him at like 13 or 16, get some draft capital, where maybe we could have got a running back early and maybe like a fourth or a third round. But I don't want to jump the gun, but I like the Jaden Blue pick, by the way. But I feel like we could have got a little bit of draft capital.
I would have been okay losing on a trade. So let's say we went from 12 to 16, and the draft chart says, well, if you do that, you get a third round pick. I would have been okay taking a fourth or a fifth, going back 4 spots, then getting Booker, and like you said, get another pick. Just any pick, just to add to the value of what you're getting in terms of where he was drafted at 12.
Yeah, I agree, because I feel like Booker would have still been there at 16 and would have been still added another player to this team, but it didn't happen. I still kind of wish we kind of could have been more aggressive, but when it comes, I know, to the Cowboys, they want people to pick up the phone, maybe, but it would have been better if we would have got a little draft capital. Oh my God, Damari asked, who's your top 5 lineman, offensive lineman?
Well, shouts out to you, Damaris. It looks like you're a regular on this show, so definitely appreciate you joining us. Top 5 linemen in the league right now. Who you put me on the spot? I can see him in my head, but for some reason when I go live, I just go blank. So I can give you the teams, and if you can help me fill out the names. Tyler Smith is a top 5 lineman in the league right now at a young age. The kid, I don't want to call him Larry Allen-esque, but in about 5 more years, I think those comparisons are really going to start to come up more. I like the tackle from the Lions, Penei Sewell.
Oh, yeah.
I think he's one of the top young tackles, probably the top young tackle. I want to put Trent Williams on the list because that dude is just a freak. Even though he didn't play much last year, he's kind of like Tyron Smith. He misses some games, but when he's in there, he's top 5, no question. Let me see. I can't put Quentin Nelson on her right now. He's probably borderline. I really like the tackle from the Chargers. They drafted Slater. I like Rashawn Slater a lot.
Good. I forgot you for Longview.
And let me see, who would I say is 5? Quick scan of the league.
I feel like Cleveland got a guy. I can't think of him.
Cleveland.
Is it Teller? I know Teller's really good. I'm trying to think of
more. I can go with those 4, and then those 4 are definite for me. And then you could throw in a 5th guy.
I feel like it would be like on maybe the NFC or AFC North.
Yeah,
you'll find a really good offensive lineman. You can't go wrong with either one.
I feel like you know what? Tunsil is a good one, but Tunsil is hot and cold for me. Like when he's hot, he could be one of the best. But when he's cold, go watch Houston last year. You will see why they got rid of him, because he had about 3 or 4 awful games that he should not have had.
He has a roller coaster type of game, like you were saying. He's really up there, but then you're like, they can move on from him. They'll be fine, type of guy.
Yeah. I just thought of my fifth one, Tristan Wirfs from Tampa Bay.
Oh, how did I forget Wirfs? Wirfs is he's from Iowa too, so you know that Iowa got the blue collar type of players on their team. You get a linebacker, offensive line, you're doing good. So getting into our second one, I was surprised that he was here, especially from the talent. But I think it was just because he's more of an undersized edge, but he's like 6'2", 248. I'm proud that I can pronounce his name. It took me a little bit. Donovan Izarike.
Okay. I just call him EZ.
Yeah, I was like, that's probably the best because I'm probably going to mispronounce his name in the near future.
Yeah.
But I can say it right now, but I'm going to say Donovan Easy out of Boston College. What you think about that pick at 44?
Favorite pick of the draft. You got to watch him play to appreciate what you're getting. Because most fans would just look at the measurables and say he's 245 and say, oh, he's just an undersized defensive end. He can't play the run. He won't be able to compete. That dude plays relentless every snap. And the stats back it up. For a guy to have 80 tackles, 20 tackles for loss to lead college football, and have 17 and a half sacks, you don't just stumble upon stats like that. You're bringing it every snap. And like Demarius said, he has a toolbox. He knows how to play the position. He has great feet. He has long arms. He already understands how to pass rush. And he knows how to get in the backfield. Personally, I'm not a big sack guy for college players because I feel like sacks are situational. If you play for a good team and you're up a lot, like Ohio State, Alabama, Georgia, if you're a defensive end there, if you don't have 10 sacks, there's a problem because you're pretty much every third down, you know they got to pass it. Almost every second down because you're up 20 points in the second quarter. So you get a whole lot more pass rush opportunities. To me, I'm looking at tackles for loss because that tells me if it's 1st and 10, you're in the backfield. If it's 2nd and 9, you're in the backfield. And if it's 3rd and 9, you're in the backfield. You're going down in, down out, no matter the distance. And you're consistently creating havoc on the other side of the line of scrimmage. And that stuff translates in the NFL.
I agree. And another thing that, he's more a smaller edge, but the thing, he has long arms. He knows how to get that separation and that good punch on the offensive lineman. So he can be he has that ability to play, like you said, pass and in the run as well. But you think when it comes to this team, you think it's kind of a short leash when it comes to Sam Williams, or you think he's still got an opportunity to be on this team? I know he's been dealing with injuries and his off the field issues.
To me, the injuries are the only thing that'll keep him on the team. I know you said you watched the show last night. I went to Ole Miss, so I'm very in tune with the team. I still know a few of the coaches, know a lot of people around the athletic facility. Dan Quinn loves Sam Williams. My best friend was the defensive coordinator at Northeast Community College, the team that he played for in junior college. So Dan Quinn was interviewing high school coaches, junior college coaches, Ole Miss coaches. He took a private flight to Ole Miss to train him that people didn't know about. For some reason, he was infatuated with Sam Williams. And I heard during the draft that if he could have convinced them, we would have taken Sam Williams in the first round that year over Tyler Smith. That's how much he liked Sam Williams. That's what I heard. Thank God that didn't happen, but I heard he was really pressing for it. So I don't know how much the rest of the front office is in love with him, but I know if he's healthy, we got one phone call we can make that will probably pick up the phone and answer.
All right, no hesitation.
Yeah,
we might get a good draft capital or a good player out of him.
Exactly.
Yeah, DeMar says he has the talent, just makes boneheaded mental errors.
Yeah,
I agree when it comes to that.
And the problem with Sam Williams was people don't know he didn't start playing football until his junior year of high school.
Yeah.
So like he didn't know how to get in a stance his junior year. Then his senior year he had 10 sacks. He went to a junior college his first year of college. The first time he ever lifted weights. This is what I heard from my friend who's a coach there. He was from the country of Alabama, had no type of nutrition. He was basically sleeping on other people's couches, living off hot Cheetos and fruit punch. Got into a weight room, started eating a little bit better. His second year at that junior college, he had like 17 sacks. Again, this is 3 years playing football. Goes to Ole Miss. They teach him 1 or 2 pass rush moves. First year, 3.5 sacks. Second year in the SEC, 10.5 sacks. So the talent is there. He's just raw and he needs time. And unfortunately, because of the injury, he didn't get that second year like high school, junior college, and college. So there's a chance, based off his history, he could come back in his second year this year and really show us some flashes. But we got a full house at defensive end, so we'll see if they can slide him in there until training camp.
Yeah, it's pretty deep in there because you think you drafted Marshawn Leland, you added Peyton Turner. You got Micah, of course. And
Fowler.
I forgot we signed Fowler too.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's a deep group. So he's not.
And then you could count Solomon Thomas as an edge too.
Oh yeah,
he plays all over the line.
Yeah. And White Cotton speaks highly on him, so you know he's getting some reps for sure.
Oh yeah.
So it's good to hear that our defensive line is deep now, because that used to be one of our downfalls, that we would have to pick from like the bottom of the barrel of the defensive free agency mid-season, but now you're looking at all the depth we have on the edge rushing room, and the defensive line is actually looking a little bit better. Defensive tackle room is looking a little bit better. I don't want to jump the gun, but we got a pretty solid one tech and a potential guy in our last pick. That's the name I can't pronounce Tommy's name, but I'm gonna work on it.
I've heard it pronounced 3 different ways. I don't know which one is right.
Yeah. We're gonna call him Tommy A. That's what
I like.
Let's stick to that. But
we'll just call him a King.
Oh yeah, we call him Tommy King. That'd be absurd. So getting into the third round, this is my second favorite pick. That's Javon Revel Jr. Great story. He's working Amazon 10-hour shift, went to an ECU camp and ran a 4.4. And the guy he's got great size too. He's like 6'2", about 195. What you think about this pick? I see he got the first round talent, just the ACL injury.
Yeah, definitely. I love the pick. I just like EZ more, but Chavon is definitely a very good pick. If you were to go in a lab and say, make me a cornerback, it would spit him out. 6'2", 200 pounds, 33.5-inch arms, great hips, fast enough, aggressive. He has the total package. The only 2 knocks that he has is he's coming from a small school and he's coming off an ACL injury. Now, the ACL injury doesn't bother me as much because it's 2025. These are borderline outpatient surgeries now, and you're back on the field in 4 months, and you're doing football stuff in 6 months. It's not like 10 years ago where you pretty much are done for an entire year just to even get on the field. So, and he hurt it in September. So, absolute worst case scenario, he starts the season off on the PUP list. No concerns whatsoever. The talent that you're getting is, I try not to speak in hyperbole, but he looks like Patrick Surtain to me. When I look at him in terms of traits. Now, it's hard to gauge watching him play against Appalachian State and Florida International, how great the talent can be. But when you just look at him and how he plays and how aggressive he is and his feet and his hips, you've got a lot of raw talent there and a lot of hard work and toughness, because like you said, he knows how it feels to come from the ground up, and he's not afraid to do the hard work to get to where he needs to be.
And the other thing I like about his game, he don't make business decisions. What I mean, he's a willing tackler and versatility as well. He could play press, he could play man zone, because you see a lot of college corners. They're usually good at one. They're a really good zone corner, and they never play man, or if they just play man, they just play man. But you see the versatility in Rebels game, so that's a big plus.
Now he didn't play a lot of zone, but he played enough to make me feel comfortable that if you put him in the scheme like this one, he'll be able to pick it up quick.
And that recovery speed too.
Yeah, and those long arms, like Demarius said, long arms are always a plus in the zone scheme.
Yeah, he's got those Inspector Gadget type of arms. That's my description of how long his arms are. Sure. So we didn't have our 4th round pick.
Yep.
But we got our 5th round, and we got our weapon.
Yep.
Jaden Blue. I'm a Longhorn fan, so I'm not gonna go into deep detail. I want to hear your opinion on that.
Okay.
What do you think about the Jaden Blue pick?
I love the pick personally. So we talked about running back throughout the entire pre-draft process, and I was telling people, if you look at last year's draft, there were at least 9 running backs who could have been the first pick taken over Jonathan Brooks. To me, the second tier, which would be where you find Jonathan Brooks, Tootin, Giddens, Dylan Sampson, those guys to me could have easily been 2nd, 3rd round picks in any other draft that you put them in. So even though we got him in the 5th, we got a guy who's capable of being a day 1 starter. Explosiveness is the number 1 word you can think of. He runs inside the tackles. He can run outside the tackles. He can catch a screen and take it to the house. He can run a flare route, and he's gone. It's going to be a mismatch for defenses who are trying to cover him. I hear people giving the knock that, he didn't have a lot of stats in college. And you look at all these other great backs, which they are great, but they all had 12, 14, 1,500 yards rushing. So I explain to people, if you look at his history, his first year, he played behind the number 1 running back drafted that year in Bijan Robinson. The next year, he played behind the first running back taken in the draft, Jonathan Brooks, who would have been a 1st round pick if not for ACL injury. So in his 3 years of football, he played 2 years behind arguably the best running back in college football. How do you expect a guy to touch the field when you got that type of competition in front of you? Now, the positive to that is that means there's a pedigree from that school. And even though the stats don't show it, he has to be right up there along with those guys who were drafted before him. So I think he's going to be able to really unleash that in this game. If you listen to White Cotton and listen to Schottenheimer in the interviews before the draft, and they talked about what they were looking for, they emphasized explosiveness and quickness. Even though we're going to have a big offensive line, we still want explosiveness all around it, including the backfield. And to be honest, I think him or Tootin were going to be the picks all along. I know people were hoping it was Genty or Giddens or Martinez. I think they wanted a speed back, and I think it was going to be Blue or Tootin. And we just got lucky that Tootin was the one they took. I mean, Blue was the one they took.
You wouldn't have gone wrong with either one.
No, you wouldn't have.
Another plus about Jaden Blue, like you brought up, he was behind 2 really good running backs for Longhorns, and he don't have a lot of miles on him, so that's another plus. He's a young guy too. I think he's only like 21 or 20.
I think he just turned 21 2 weeks ago.
He's a young dude, and you could utilize him how you could have used when we had Pollard but now you got him even more explosive running back now. He's like 5'9", 196, and then you brought up to have a big offensive line. He could be behind those guys and be a blur and make some big plays behind our offense. So hopefully Schottenheimer and them come out with a good scheme when it comes to Jaden Blue. I feel like they are because they added so much of emphasis on running the ball effectively. They're not, when I hear them talk about it, it just doesn't sound like a bunch of fluff.
It doesn't.
Then we just you can see the honesty before. You just kind of they were just kind of feeding into the fans, and then you wait until the season, and we're just we're trying to run a West Coast offense, but we're saying we're going to run the ball. But I see a lot of effective run game with Blue and Williams and possibly the guy we're going to talk about in a little bit, Maffa.
Yeah. But let me just add on to your point really quick. When you listen to Jason Garrett and Mike McCarthy in the past, hold on 1 second. I got to take this phone call. Hello. Hey, is there a problem?
So that'll just put some more pieces. We're gonna about Jaden Blue. Jaden Blue could just definitely be that speedster on this team for sure. Out in the backfield and also in the receiving game as well. And I think that could be a benefit to this team is just having a guy that has that versatility to run the ball effectively. And then you have Javonte Williams, probably the primary running back who got some physicality. I know he's coming off of an injury, but I think he could be a value. And you just figure out what you're going to do between Maffa and Miles Sanders. But I don't want to jump the gun. I think Maffa has a good chance of being the running back 3 until further notice, in my opinion. But let's check into the comments real quick. But when it comes to our 5th pick, this guy, I know we traded up with Jerome James. I know he's a captain of his team and everything. But I just see a special team linebacker. I put in my notes. I'm watching this game right now. He's a captain. He's a designated blitzer. That's his main thing. I don't see him playing any middle. I know you could see he was the captain of Florida's defense, but he just doesn't have the size. He's like 6'1", 220, 222. So you don't see that disengagement to be a middle linebacker. I see him kind of like, I don't know if y'all remember Justin March a little bit back. Group is pretty deep because you got Overshown when he's coming back, and then you got a middle linebacker. You have Merslia Fowl or Jack Sanborn and all those type of players. Are you back?
Yeah, I'm good. Sorry about that.
Oh, no, you good.
I had to put a fire out.
It's all good. No worries. I was talking about Shamar James.
All right, where are we at right now? I know I missed some stuff.
Oh, you're good. I was talking about the Mars actually brought up a good point. I really scratched my head with the Shamar James pick. Yeah, that was a pick I was kind of iffy on. I kind of felt like we could have got him in the 7th round. But what do you think about the Shamar James? I know he's got those leadership qualities. I know what even Flus and the guys are looking for.
Yeah, fans are gonna hate me, but it's a terrible pick. Don't compare this guy to Overshown. That is an insult to Overshown. I watched 4 games. He got washed out. He's a small linebacker. He doesn't play like Overshown. Overshown is longer and more athletic, far more athletic, and knows how to use his body to shed guys and make plays. Anything before the snap that you need, Shamar James can give it to you. He's going to put guys in the right position. Yeah. He's going to call protections. He's going to call reads. He may even call the play out. He looks like above the neck, he has everything you want. But once that ball gets snapped, they take turns on him. Like, if you get close to him, he's not going anywhere. And people say he's sideline to sideline. I don't see it as much. I do see a guy who can process fast, which is great, but I don't see a guy who, if they run left toss, he can meet that running back on the edge. And I've seen a couple of plays where he tried and he could not get there in time. So he's an undersized linebacker. I think maybe Sorensen, the special teams coach, maybe he got in the coach's ear a little bit earlier than most people want and said, I'm starting my special teams out because I love special teams. And I always try to tell people every draft, you're going to get 2 guys drafted for special teams. And when you got a new special teams coach, he's going to want his leader. And his leader may not be CJ Goodwin like years past. Maybe James is going to be his guy. That's the only reason I can see them drafting him and moving up to draft him, because I do not see him getting a shot of playing on his defense.
I agree. I think that's the main thing. He's going to be our special teammate. I brought up a comparison, and that's like he's going to be a Justin Marshall type of guy.
Mm-hmm.
That's his best chance of being on this team, because when it comes to the linebacker room, I don't see him beating Overshown when he's back. I don't see him beating Liv Fowl, Sanborn, or Murray.
No.
So he's going to be that 5th guy. He's going to be playing. He's going to be going against Buddy Johnson or Damone Clark.
Damone Clark, yeah. And don't forget, the linebacker we took as an undrafted free agent last year. I think he was from Northwestern or TCU. I can't think of his name.
Oh, yeah, that's another. So they're all those 3 guys are facing for that fifth spot.
Yeah. Mogensen, I think it's Morganson or Mogensen.
Yeah, Mogensen.
Mogensen, yeah.
He said, "Damn, Damone is still on the team." Right? Yeah, he's kind of fell from his first year with the Cowboys. He's basically fighting to get that 5th spot on this team.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if we glitched a little bit.
No, I'm here.
See what's going.
I'm here.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So we're getting into our 6th spot.
Okay.
And that is he's another head scratcher to me, and that's Johnny Cornelius, tackle out of Oregon. I was trying to figure out what was his strength to his game. The only thing I really seen in this game that was his good point of attack with his hands, the lateral quickness really isn't there. He's just another developmental right tackle in my eyes. And it's kind of like in that level you think of like with Matt Waletzko, guys like that. It's like I didn't really see the benefit of Cornelius. Maybe approve us wrong and he could be a solid backup tackle, but that's how far I see him on this team. What do you think, Cornelius?
I don't see him as a tackle. His feet are way too slow. He has to go inside. I can't see him being on anybody's blind side. I do like the long arms, broad shoulders. He's built up top to play tackle. Great hands. I'll say that too. His hands got to be 10.5 inches, because when he grabs somebody, that's it. You can just go ahead and just sit on the ground until the whistle blows. The problem is he's losing 1 out of 4 times. That's too high of a rate for a tackle.
Yeah.
So I just can't see, and that's at the college level. At the NFL level, when he's going against premier pass rushers, where everybody's going to run a 4.7, 4.6, 4.5, I don't see him having a shot of being productive. We talked about Shamar James, the last pick. Maybe Clayton Adams saw something and he didn't want to wait and fight for him in undrafted free agency. And he was pounding the table like, I didn't have a pick. Let me get my pick. And this is the guy I want. I don't know. I would be shocked if he makes the team. I think they're going to try to hide him, let him get on the practice squad, and then give Clayton Adams a year to try to develop whatever he sees in him out of him.
Yeah, that's his best scenario for this year. And like Adamar brought up, they have about 20 offensive line. Who's going to make this team? And if he's going to be guard, there's like Sadiq Charles. What's another guy we got?
Robert Jones.
Robert Jones, who they signed, and they got Hoffman and Bass.
We still got the kid from last year we drafted.
Oh yeah, Nathan Thomas.
Thomas.
So yeah, it's a tough role for Cornelius, but this team doesn't get rid of guys. They're gonna just put them on the practice squad, see what he can get out the best out of him next year.
Or he'll get injured. You know how that goes.
Oh yeah,
get that IR guy. Let him sit and chill for a year. We get that every year. He'll probably be one of those guys who gets some phantom injury 2 weeks before final cuts, and he'll disappear like they did Nathan Thomas last year.
Oh yeah, so he may get the severe turf toe or something like that.
Something like that, exactly.
Severe.
You already know.
Yes, sir. But getting into the 7th round, I actually love this pick. We got the one tech, Jay T.O. I think it's Tioa.
I've heard Toya or Toia. That's what I've heard.
Toia. Yeah, I think it's Jay Toia. And I like this pick. He's a good run stuff and one tech. He's 6'2", 342. Mm-hmm. And I got him. And I got in my notes. He got that relentless motor for a big guy like him. Great first step, willing to chase down the runner. And one of the things, and the biggest thing about a one tech, he's not getting pushed around. Because you see some big guys, they may be big, but they'll get pushed around in plays. But if you watch his film, he's got a good base and nobody's moving him. And that's what we need in the one tech.
Yep. Yeah, I see Damari says Vita Vea.
So what's your thoughts on?
Yeah. Like
I hope
your
so.
guy said Vita Vea.
Nice.
If you look at the measurables, height, weight, rugby background, Tongan ancestry, he's not the athlete Vea is, but he's pretty close to me. And to get him in the 7th round was an absolute steal. I watch a lot of UCLA even before the draft, and he was probably my second favorite defensive tackle behind the kid from Oregon that went in the first round. Now, I think he failed because he's 340 and people see him as a run stuffer, and the league does not value run stuffers until they get in the league. I don't know why. Stupid thing that the league does. Same thing with running backs. This kid can come in and start day one. Great first step. You talked about the relentless motor. One thing that you didn't mention that stood out to me, he's the anti-Mozzie Smith. So, like, if you watch Mozzie Smith and you watch the ball snap, no matter what, Mozzie's always the last one to get out of his stance. This kid is always the first one out of his stance when the ball snaps. And that gives him a great advantage when it comes to beating guards and centers and double teams. So you got a guy, great first step, great motor, already not NFL strong, but strong enough that he can compete as a year one guy. And he already kind of understands how to use his hands. That's another one of those things, those Tongan guys always have that background with all those sports they play and just being naturally physical. They already understand good hand placement. So I think he's going to come in and he's going to turn some heads early.
I definitely agree. That rugby background definitely benefits, especially when you see guys like Mailata, Vita Vea, and you see how great those hands are. And then some of them be wearing, they got those. Oh yeah, Pecco taking it back. Like those guys are just straight up physical athletes as well. But I can't wait to see what he does for the team. And the biggest thing, he got that good first step, because when you watch Mozzie in Michigan, he was, like you said, he's the last guy to get off the ball. But we were just enamored. This team finally got a one tech. It was like the last time we got a defensive tackle in the first round was Russell Maryland back in the early 90s. Before that, we were just picking guys second or third round. We had a little Laura Glover, and when we finally got a Mozzie Smith, we're like, they finally did it. But watching the film, you're like, yeah, he's got all the size and everything, super strong in the weight room. But why is he? But he's the last guy to get off the ball, and that's not going to work if you want your one tech. You want your one tech kind of be at the same time getting off the ball to get that good power.
Yeah.
Hopefully, we get to see Mozzie Smith grow from that. But
I have faith that White Cotton can fix him. White Cotton is a great defensive line coach. He seems to be very hands-on. I mean, if for you guys that are watching, it's a lot of podcasts out there. Go find those Cowboys podcasts. Just watch the interviews. I promise you, everybody has the same rhetoric. Everybody is on one accord. All the coaches are young. All the coaches are active with the players. All the coaches they know what they want and they're going to demand it and they're going to go get it. So I have a good feeling. I don't know if the record's going to show it, but I think we're definitely going to see a different personality from the team this year than we've seen in years past.
I agree, and they're teachers as well. They're
Definitely.
willing to teach the players, and then they got a young team, so that works out. And like you said, they're all kind of have the same mentality, and they also are just overall passionate about the game. They're not just here for, okay, I've been in the league for a while, so you got to follow what I say. They have leniency, but they also have high expectation for their players, and you see they took their time building this coaching staff. And from what you hear, the coaching staff is looks like an A+ type of coaching staff that's willing to develop players.
Because if you look at years past,
but going into
I'm sorry, I was just gonna say, to follow up on what you just said, when you look at years past and you look at how the coaching staffs were developed, it was always this was Jason Garrett's buddy. This was a guy that Jerry Jones highly respected. Nobody really fit the scheme. It was always, I'm going to get this wide receiver coach who doesn't work with the offensive coordinator. Or you bring in Linehan and Callahan and nobody knows who the play caller is. And the offensive coaching room is not talking to each other because everybody wants to be the lead and nobody knows who's going to be the lead. Like you said, they took their time and they knew what they wanted and they went out and targeted those coaches who can all bring it together. So that's just a great overall job by Schottenheimer, and got to give Jerry some credit for taking a chance on Schottenheimer and allowing him to kind of put the pieces together how he sees fit without seeing one of Jerry's friends get a high position.
Yeah, so it's a great relief. It's not just a bunch of, I know this guy from when I was a coach here. It's guys that are like, okay, I'm going to take the time to get to know them, see if they fit on this team. Because they didn't just build this coaching staff in a few days. It took about 2 or 3 weeks until they fully set this group together. But
and every guy that they chose was successful at what they did. It wasn't Kellen Moore's never called a play before, and he went from backup quarterback to quarterback coach to OC. Or you get, I can't even think of Sunday Lyle, the wide receiver coach, who I think his best receiver may have been T.Y. Hilton in his whole career. You're getting guys who have a reputation of putting some real talent out there, and when they have a position group, their position group consistently ranks at the top of the league.
They're young coaches with like great resumes of coaching great players at college ranks and pro ranks as well. That's one of the biggest pluses to this coaching staff. But going into our second to last 7th round pick, and that's Phil Maffa out of Clemson. We double dipped that running back. I like this pick. He's one speed guy that plays physical and can help us in the short yardage back. What do you think about the Phil Maffa pick? Actually, that's a good underrated 7th round pick.
So in college football, even before this year, I follow 5 teams, and I don't know how or why I chose these teams, but I know Ole Miss because I went there and I lived there. Ole Miss, Missouri, Clemson, Michigan, and with those 4 teams, Ole Miss, Michigan, Missouri, Clemson, UCLA. Those are my 5 teams that I follow. So I've watched every snap of Phil Maffa. One thing I will say, watching as a fan and really watching all 22 are 2 completely different things. I can tell you that from my personal experience. Because initially when I watched them make the pick, I wasn't excited about it because I just saw a big running back that runs high and just kind of falls forward. But when I really watched the all 22 and pay attention to how quick he accelerates for his size, which was surprising to me. Usually when you're dealing with a big running back, it takes them 3, 4, 5 steps before they can hit top speed. Phil Maffa hit 2 steps and he's at his max. And that helps him out a whole lot when it comes to running inside the tackles and outside the tackles. Now you mentioned he does have he's a 1-speed guy, but he hits that speed fast for a guy his size.
Oh
yeah. It still bothers me that he runs high. I normally don't like running backs that run tall like that, but I think with his acceleration and his good feet and his ability to follow blockers, because he's excellent at following blockers when they run traps and stunts and stuff like that. So I think that's going to help him out a lot, along with this natural size. I think we got something in Phil Maffa. I would temper expectation because I really think they have a plan for Javonte Williams and Miles Sanders, and Phil Maffa may be the guy who we trot out in 2026 to really go thunder and lightning with him in blue. But I think there's something there, and I think it's going to probably take a year before we really get to see it.
Yeah, I don't think we may get to see a little bit of it this year, but I think like you said, I think in next year we'll see that thunder and lightning with Blue and Maffa. It's gonna be between Williams and Sanders, or you may both have them out there, and we may just go 4 running backs with those 4, and then we may see Maffa next year. But
yeah,
another thing about when you see Maffa, he's 6'1", I think about 234, so he's built like a will linebacker out there, and then plays with that physicality. And if we do put him this year, he's definitely, like I brought up, he's going to be like a short yardage back. But then next year, you'll see more of an extended game with him, because I don't think they just drafted them just to put out a camp body, because that's not what Phil Maffa is.
Yeah, and like we said before, these coaches are not really taking camp bodies. I think they have a plan in place for what they see. And if Phil Maffa's playing, that's actually a good thing, because that means he's overtaken 2 veterans or 1 veteran in Williams or Miles Sanders. I don't think they'll give him the job. I think he'll earn it if he is on the field.
Oh yeah, this coach, I know that's your mentality. If they don't care if you've been in the league for 3 or 4 years, but if a rookie stands out better than them, he's gonna be getting the reps for sure.
But before we go to the last pick, let me ask you a question.
Yeah.
What do you think? What do you think happens with Deuce Vaughn?
Oh, best case scenario with Deuce Vaughn, special teams. He'll get opportunity in preseason, but it's just this running back group now is too deep, and I don't see Deuce Vaughn getting the opportunity to do it. I just see him on practice squad on a new team. That's the only thing I see in his future.
I agree with that.
And get in there, our last guy, like we were talking about, we're just gonna call him Tommy King. I don't want to butcher his name. I'll learn it before the season. That's my promise, Tommy. I'm gonna get your name right. But I just wanted to, when I watched Tommy's game yesterday, and you brought up on your show, he has like an interesting stance. It's kind of hunched over.
So you saw the stance?
Yeah, I saw this. When you talked about it, like, I gotta watch this, and I seen it, and it threw me off. I'm being a former defensive line. My coach seen me do a stance like that to chew me out, but he made it work. But he's gonna have to get he has to get that stance right when he plays in the pros for sure. I can see the talent, but I think he's another guy that they'll develop in a couple of years and be some solid. What do you think about Tommy?
100% traits guy. If you're looking for a defensive tackle, 6'3", 325, long arms, great feet. I think he's another guy who's a late bloomer. I think he played basketball up into his sophomore, junior year. So you can definitely see the footwork when he moves. To me, he plays like a big man. He plays like a small man, a big man's body. So when you watch Maryland play, you rarely see him line up at the nose. He's always 3. I've never seen him at a 3 tech, honestly. Normally he's lined up as a 4 tech, which is straight up with the guard or he's outside as a 5 tech. So I'm interested to see when he gets in the NFL how he looks actually inside the guard's helmet, because he's gonna have to play down there. When he gets to Dallas, will probably be the first time he plays at the nose, to be honest, from what I saw. So that was going to be interesting. He plays, like I just said, small man to big man's body. So he tries to finesse his way through a lot. And it works in college because that big, that fast. I think Demaria said it before about just the talent level. I think he brought it up a few minutes ago earlier in the show. A lot of bad college offensive lines. Everybody in college is not going to be a potential day 2, day 3 pick. Some of these guys are going to be insurance salesmen and accountants after college, like me. So just him being naturally athletic, he was able to take advantage of it, but it wasn't consistent enough for me to see it translating in the league. So I think he's going to have to definitely change that stance. He's going to have to get a little bit stronger, and he's going to have to be able to get inside that trash can in the A gap or the B gap and do some work.
Yeah, he definitely has the talent, but he needs to have more, like Ademari's brought up, add something to that toolbox to be a certified player on this team. And he's another developmental guy.
Yeah,
you may not see him this year, but next year you'll probably see some a little bit of Tommy King in there.
Yeah,
sure.
To be honest, I would be shocked if James, Cornelius, or Tommy make the roster. I would be shocked. And James would only do it if he's amazing on special teams.
Yeah, that's the only way I see James on this team, or even hearing his name, is he's on a special team wrong, because that linebacker room, he's not pushing nobody out of there. To be honest with you, he's got the, like you said, he's got this right here, the mind, like an all pro mind, is just the frame. He's 6'1", 220, and that's a special team side when it comes to linebacker.
Yeah.
But it's still good living though. Like, special teams is getting paid. So
CJ Goodwin been doing it for seems like 20 years on 1-year contracts.
Yeah, he's happy to do it.
So I'm sure he is.
There's some jobs out here that are high ranking, but special team players are getting paid more than them. So
yeah,
I don't know. Yeah, for sure. But
I mean, to get paid $1 to $2 million to play 13 snaps a game, that ain't nothing better.
Oh, no.
13 snaps, and you're not even hitting on most of them.
You just running full speed most of the plays.
Exactly, just
you
cardio.
May get an opportunity to get you just 13 rounds of cardio. Sign me up for $1 to $2 million a year.
Exactly.
My body said hell no, but mine says I'll do for $1 to $2 million.
I'll make it work some kind of way.
Yeah, for sure. But before I let you go, what do you overall get this Cowboys draft from grade from A to
F? Overall, A-, B+.
I agree.
The top of the draft, if we stopped at the top of the 5th round, I would say it was an A. And then those last couple of picks were kind of head scratchers, and it kind of pulls it down for me. I know some people want to give it a bad grade because we didn't take a wide receiver, but to be honest, after you went past the 3rd round, there was really no wide receiver that's going to be a difference maker. I feel like, and let me say this while we're on the topic. The Cowboys are a B+ franchise, and I know that's not what we want to hear. Fans want to give them an F, because we're not competing for Super Bowls. But we are a B+ franchise, and a B+ to me is you have a winning record. good enough to make the playoffs, and you get put out in the first round. That's a B plus. That's what we are. We're not making consistent A plus moves to get us to that next level, like a Baltimore or a Buffalo or Kansas City or even the Eagles. They make A plus moves. We're still at the B plus range. So if we could have done a little bit better on the back end of this draft, I think this could have been a draft that could really set us up in 2 years. It still can, because I think those first 4 picks are going to be home runs in 3 years. And they're all at key positions: cornerback, pass rusher, skill player, and then you throw Booker in there as an interior guy. But yeah, we're a B plus team.
I can agree with that, because you can put in perspective. There's some team which they made moves like how we do in the draft and then in free agency. We could be the Cleveland Browns. We could be the Panthers. I'm just gonna put those. And you put in that perspective, you're like, oh, our team ain't that half bad if you think about it. They just need to make that extra push to get to the level where we can go to the NFC Championships and maybe possibly go for the Super Bowl.
And to be honest, I don't think we're that far away. We just need to take one season where we can make 2 A plus moves. I think that's all it takes. Like last year, we went 7-10 with Dak hurt. I think if we would have made an A plus move in Derrick Henry, I think it would have been a lot better, because everything else was pretty good for the most part. We had a couple of hiccups, but if we would have had a better running game the entire year, we could have easily won 11 games last year.
I definitely agree. In some of our great teams, we were always missing 1 or 2 pieces to make that extra push. But if we filled the roster and we didn't have minimal to little needs, this team could make it to that next level. But it's always like the year after this, when we were missing a defensive lineman or something.
Which year?
The year after this one, when we got Gilmore and everything, we had got Gilmore and Cook. Mm-hmm. We were missing a couple of pieces. We could have made that push.
Yeah.
And better play calling as well. That'd have been helpful as well. But I don't want to go on a whole tangent about that, because I definitely could.
We can spend another hour on that one.
Oh, for sure. But I appreciate you, Marcus, being on the show. Definitely got to have you back on. But before I let you go, where can they follow you and check out your podcast?
I thought we had one more question to go over before we got out of here.
Good. Oh yeah, the question we already talked about wide receiver.
Yeah.
So what do you think they should bring back Amari Cooper, or should they look at another receiver? Because I got one in mind that could be a potential.
Okay. And I wanted to bring that up because I just talked about B plus. Amari Cooper would be a B plus move. It's something to get you by. You're familiar with him. He's going to give you a couple of good games. He'll make you feel like you're doing a little bit better, but it's not going to be something that gets you over the top. So to be consistent with our B plus standpoint, if you want to take Amari Cooper, I have no problem with it. I don't think he's the missing piece that's going to help us get over the top. But if you want to go back to winning 10 or 11 games, I think Amari Cooper would be a pretty good option.
Yeah, he's a solid option. And one guy that I was thinking about, because a lot of teams are deep at wide receiver. Not looking at Green Bay, they drafted Matthew Golden. There's one receiver on their team who's on the last part of his contract, and he won't cost us about maybe $1 or $2 million. He was a second-round pick, and that is Christian Watson, that wide receiver from they got it from North Dakota State. Got a good size, 6'4", about 210, ran under 4.4, solid route runner. And one thing that Schottenheimer liked, he's one of the best run blockers, and he wouldn't cost us that much. I don't know what would be the draft capital, but the money's right. And when you talk about the Joneses, if the money's right, they're going to make the move. So what do you think about Watson? It's like as a X or Z type of receiver.
I mean, to be honest, I'll take any receiver from Green Bay. Watson, Dobbs, Reed, Dontavian Wicks. There's another wide receiver on the roster I'd be interested in. But if you listen to what the coach is saying, we have to go back to this because they're all saying the same thing. They want speed and explosiveness from their skill positions. And if that's what they're looking for, then Watson would be the type of guy that would fill that role. The only question marks would be, can he stay healthy? Yeah, now, I've heard, just listening to interviews and reading, I think he's got the problem figured out. I think I was watching an interview where he was talking. I think it was like is it his quad or his hamstring that keeps bothering him? And he mentioned there's some scientific experimental thing that he did, kind of analyze his body to kind of figure out why he keeps messing up that one side. And I think they've got it down. And he actually wasn't as hurt last year. I think the problem last year was Wicks, Dobbs, and Reed were just balling. And
yeah,
they couldn't find a way to fit them in. So I think there's a little bit of disgruntledness there. And then you just added Matthew Golden. So now that's another mouth you got to feed. I think they got to get rid of one of those guys. And if I had to guess based off of last year, Watson would probably be at the top of that list. And I wouldn't mind trying him out.
Because if you look at it this way, you got Lamb, but you think any of those receivers could be better than Jalen Tolbert or Kevontae Turpin? I believe they could.
Yes, any of them.
Yeah, because you're not asking either one of them to be another 1,000-yard receiver. If they can be that 700 to 900-yard receiver, we're good at wide receiver too. Then, because that's one of our biggest needs on this team.
And I'm glad you brought that up because people seem to forget. If you look at Tolbert has progressed every year. He went from not touching the field to year 2, he's getting 400 yards, to last year, he's getting 700 yards. If he takes the next step, which based off history, you have to assume he's going to progress more than he's going to regress, he may become an 800, 900-yard receiver. So now all you really need is another guy who can give you that same level of production. And you've got 3 good receivers. Kind of like that year where we had Cedric Wilson, who kind of stepped up and became a third guy. When CeeDee Lamb was getting 900 yards and Amari Cooper was 1,100-yard receiver. None of those guys were great, but all 3 of them, we had one really good guy and 2 good guys with them. So I feel like Lamb with Tolbert and another good guy, we can go back to that same level of offense, and we got the running game going. That's probably going to be as good or better than it was that year.
I agree, because when you looked at Tolbert when he was at South Alabama, he went from not barely playing, because I think he didn't start his senior year. He didn't start his senior year of football. He only played one starting year of football, so he's still new to the game. But also from year 1 there, year 2 and year 3, he continued progressing. So I feel like that's the same road he's going towards the Cowboys, like you brought up. If we can get another guy that can get us 700, 900 yards, we'll be really good at receiver, because we don't need we're not asking him to be wide receiver 1. You got CeeDee Lamb.
Yeah, that's a great point. And I feel like people forget how good Tolbert was in college. I mean, he had 1,500 yards and 10 touchdowns his senior year. He's a legit 6'2", a legit 4.4 speed. So we're not talking about a scrub here. The guy's still learning the position, like you said, and now he's in year 4, and he's gotten better every year. So you have to assume he's not going to revert, because it seems like he's the type of guy who wants to get better, which is always a good thing.
Absolutely. And then it benefits him having that baseball background, so you can see that tracking ability when he plays wide receiver. So that's a big plus.
So what do you think about Mingo before we get out of here?
Mingo,
like you said about being a Texas guy, I'm an Ole Miss guy. So I'll let you speak first, and then I'll give my thoughts.
Okay. When I see Mingo, you see he has all the traits, the great size. Ole Miss is like a big receiver used, in my opinion. You get those big. I didn't see the route tree at Ole Miss, but I could see him playing some big slot or playing in the boundary receiver. but I just don't see why we traded so high to get him. I think we could have maybe got him for a 6 or a 7 for Mingo to the Cowboys, but hopefully see him add something to this team. But I just see a good wide receiver 4 when it comes to Mingo. I don't know your opinion on it, but I just don't see the wide receiver 2 in Mingo. But maybe I'm wrong.
I don't have to say anything. You pretty much said word for word what I was gonna say. Ole Miss 6'2", 220. That's what we do. Some of them are Mingo. Some of them are AJ Brown. Some of them are Freifogel. I don't know if you remember the name Freifogel. We took him as an undrafted free agent a couple years ago.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, it's a crapshoot, but they're all going to be 6'4". 6'2". They're all going to be 220. They're all going to run a 4.4. And I think Mingo is one of the ones. He's not Trey Harris, so don't think Trey Harris is going to be like Mingo. Trey Harris is closer to AJ Brown, but Mingo's a wide receiver 4. I think the problem is they're going to give him every opportunity to be wide receiver 2.
I definitely could. I see that, especially if they traded for him so high, like a 4th round. Mm-hmm. You hope that you can at least get some wide receiver 3 type of stats out of him. But I still stick to see him as a wide receiver 4. Maybe some solid depth if somebody goes down on the outside. But I still think they still need to find a wide receiver 2. And I just don't see Mingo as wide receiver 2 on this team until we see week 1 and like, okay, I'm wrong. I mean, week 5, Mingo's really good. I'm like, okay, I was wrong. Mingo made that step, and we don't have to look no further.
Yeah, and there's nothing wrong. And something I know is with other podcasters, they would rather be right about a player and the player continue to be bad than be wrong and a player turn out to be a good player. Like some guys, even if a player is good, if they said he was bad before the draft, they're gonna ride that train for their kid's entire career. And I really hate to see that in our community. Cause I'm rooting for Mingo. I just don't see it. And if he shows it, I'll be the first one to say I was wrong.
It doesn't feel like that'd be a miserable life to live where you stick on an idea, and if it doesn't work, you're still gonna stick to it. Like, I'd rather see them succeed and us go to a Super Bowl. I want to go to a Super Bowl in my adulthood life because I didn't get to see one. Last time I seen one, I was like 4 or 5, which didn't mean anything to me. So it'd be nice to see the cut.
There are a lot of more popular podcasters than you and I that live in that world we just talked about, and I don't get it.
Yeah, it's a weird scenario where people rather see those type of shows where people stick to an idea and just stick to it and just be passionate about it, but they don't want to see the real sometimes.
Yeah. You mind if I ask you one more question? Just curious.
Oh yeah.
Is there a player that was drafted that you wanted us to take that we didn't? Like, is there one guy that kind of stands out?
That's a good question. Because I wanted us to get Tet, but he got drafted by the Panthers. But between Booker and Golden, I got a little lean towards Booker because that helps. And I know I'm a big fan of Golden. He could play inside or outside, but it's just the value of getting a solid offensive lineman to this team.
Mm-hmm.
That really would help, especially if we're adding emphasis on running the ball. And I think Booker. But I don't see any day 2 or day 1 players I would move away from Easy or Revel or Booker.
Okay.
But if there's anybody that can move with Johnny Cornelius or Shamar James, I don't see any wide receivers that can push that, because you're looking at the 6 or 7 for a receiver. You're looking at wide receiver 4 and 5 or 6, and we got plenty of those.
I agree.
Is there anybody on this team that you move?
The only player I can think of, because again, I follow Clemson. They have a safety named R.J. Mickens. I think he was drafted in the 6th or 7th round. I was really hoping we would have taken him over James or Cornelius. I think, especially in the Cornelius spot, R.J. Mickens, 6 foot, 205, 4.4 speed, 40. I think he had a 43-inch vertical. I'll have to go back and look. His vertical was ridiculous. And his dad was an NFL corner. He played 4 years for Clemson. I think he was the team captain for 2 years. Like, if you're looking for a safety, he was the prototype. I don't understand why he fell to the 6th round, but I was praying we found a way to get him on this team.
That'd have been a good addition. I watched the film a little bit, and I didn't know he dropped all the way to the 6th. I seen he was great at that. Like, okay, that's not gonna happen in the draft. Somebody will pick him up at least in the 4s, but him actually dropped to the 6th. I'm like,
yeah, I thought for sure he was going to be one of those. Yeah, I thought for sure he was going to be one of those guys in the 4th round that, man, I wish we had our 4th round pick and we could have got him. And then I watched him fall past the field. I was like, okay, I love blue. I see what they're doing. They're going to speed running back, no problem. But then the next 2 picks, it was like, oh my goodness, we had a free safety right there, just waiting to be picked, and we looked right past them.
Yeah, it wasn't called Adams, and the special team coach must have been really banging on the table saying we need Cornelius and James on this team more than Mickens, because the talent Mickens, I would have picked him over one of those guys.
Yeah, but I do like Childress, the safety from Kentucky. We got an undrafted free agency. I love that kid. I'd be shocked if he doesn't make the roster, but that's a topic for another day.
Oh yeah, because I was watching this thing. He's been putting in the work since he got signed to the Cowboys, so I think he's gonna be a dog for this team.
Yes,
we keep either Fay guys if they ball out, so that's not a problem.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but appreciate you being on the show. Before I let you go, where can they find your show, and where can they give you a follow at it as well?
All right, guys. You can find me. I'm the host of the 5th Quarter podcast. It's sponsored by the DC4L Facebook group. We air every Wednesday night, 8:30 Central Standard Time, Facebook, X, and YouTube. Got a lot of great content coming up. Be sure to follow me. You can find me Bluff City Cowboys on YouTube and Facebook, and Bluff Cowboys on X. Just continue to follow. Hopefully I can be a guest again. I don't do a lot of outside podcasts because, as you can see, I got a lot of personal stuff going on too. But when you find people like yourself who reach out to me and I like what you're doing, anytime I can make myself available, man, I'm more than willing to come back.
Appreciate that. It means a lot. This has been Tacos and a Touchdown Live. We'll be back not this coming up Thursday, but the next Thursday afterwards. And there's definitely going to be some news about the Cowboys, because Dallas Cowboys going to keep us with the content for sure. But this has been Tacos and Touchdowns. Y'all have a good one. Peace.